It is the start of day 42 of the Zombie Hunter build. I've got a fully loaded car. So those wheels that I picked up, the G500 wheels, I'm getting them powder coated. So there's a place that I'm going to that's charging me $50 a wheel. They have a lot of experience with wheels, so that's why I chose this particular place, because a lot of places do machinery and things like that.
Hazard reported ahead.
But these ones, this place, you know, I've seen their work on Facebook and stuff, and they do great work, and I had a friend who actually went there for his wheels. So I'm getting them powder coated. They're going to charge me additional $15 takeoff and remount of the tires, but I'm not going to use the G500 tires that came with it. I have to go bigger. So after a little bit of research, I found a tire manufacturer, Hercules Tire, which is affiliated with Cooper. I guess they teamed up with Cooper and they build mud terrain tires. All sorts of tires actually, but the ones I looked at were the Ironman 4x4 all-terrains, or mud terrains. And they look like complete knockoffs of BF Goodrich KM2s. Very similar tread pattern, style, even the sidewalls, you know, kind of similar with the chunky kind of blocks on the side of the sidewall. They look like very nice tires. I've read great reviews about them, but the most important thing, well, I wouldn't say the most important thing, I think performance is the most important thing, but a very important factor is that they are super cheap. I ended up getting 4 tires for just under $800. So yeah, I'm gonna get those mounted on, and you know, hopefully they serve me well, and we'll see how they look. I think they're gonna look awesome on a matte black Ashroth 18-inch wheel. All right, so I have the wheels all dropped off. Unfortunately, it's gonna take about 14 business days for them to get completed. I went with a dark, she tried to describe the color to me. I saw it on another set of rims that they had there. The place was just jam-packed with rims. They had a lot of business, so that's why I had to wait so long. But so they had the wheels there, and there was a set that was, I initially wanted like a matte black. I looked at the matte black, I was like, you know, like realistically, it's like, it looks like a spray paint job, you know. But they had this like almost like a textured, slightly textured charcoal-y color. So I went with that. I think it's gonna look awesome. It's not shiny. It's not, you know, like I was looking at semi-gloss, I was comparing, and it was like semi-gloss. This one's like a charcoal powder coat with a without the clear coat on it. So it ends up looking really nice. So I mean, not a bad deal at all, man. $50 a wheel, and that's probably the reason why they were just so, you know, so backed up and so packed with just constant business. All kinds of things were going in there, but I mean, I saw a lot of rims, so I know they'll do a good job on my rims. So the work that I did on the wheel arches and recreating the fenders is imperfect. Honestly, I didn't have the resources or the correct environment to do it. You know, you need a real controlled environment if you're going to do any kind of very precise bodywork. I didn't, and really I just eyeballed it. I didn't know where the metal was supposed to start, where it was supposed to end, and I just kind of went along with the shape of what I had to recreate it. And there was a lot of rot, especially in the rear. Well, actually the front was awful too, but it was a lot more manageable to keep the shape. So like, say I split the car, you know, in half and folded it, it'd be asymmetrical. You know, there wouldn't be symmetry between the two, just because I, you know, basically eyeballed it and I didn't have the right location to do it. You know, you need a nice shop with fluorescent lights, a controlled environment. I was doing it outside in the rain, in the sun. So, you know, it is what it is. You to the untrained eye, you wouldn't be able to tell, but those who know, you know, so you would see. And I mean, you could tell that there's been something done there, because even the sheet metal and stuff, you know, it's very difficult to have a completely smooth surface when lighting is changing and all these things like that. So you can't really see what you're working with. I didn't think, honestly, that was going to be a problem because I was coating it with bed liner, But while Monster Liner is textured, my advice to you, if you are choosing to use it, when I do recommend you do, because it is an awesome product, make sure that the bodywork is perfect, you know, as if you were going to paint it. So what I did instead is I ordered a set of fender flares. So there was a seller on eBay who was coincidentally from Poland, which had I known they were from Poland, I probably could have had these picked up for me. Like the polyurethane spring spacers that I had, those were also made in Poland, and I'm Polish, and I had family going to Poland at the time, and they actually picked the spacers up for me. And by chance, they were like 20 kilometers or something like that away from the location of that factory. So they just picked them up and brought them on a plane, no duty, no anything, you know, no shipping charges, and I had them here for cheap. Had I known that I was gonna do this or go this route and that the seller was actually in Poland, I probably would have done the same thing. Unfortunately, I didn't have anybody going there. But, so, we'll see. I'm gonna pull these out right now. It's started raining, so I don't know if I'm gonna drill them and mount them to the truck right now. We'll see. But I'm gonna pull them out and see if they were damaged or anything. There's no packing peanuts or anything inside here, so I don't know. They probably got banged around a bit. I mean, they're in bubble wrap, but it's fiberglass. So hopefully they stood up to the transport. These are really well made. These are extremely well made. So these things are really well made. They look like well, obviously they used a mold of the original ones to create it, but these ones are fiberglass, and you know, they're basically just pure replicas of the original ones, just not made out of that plastic the other ones made out of. They're thinner, you know, so that could be an issue, you know, just the material being so thin. I mean, it's not super thin, you know. If I was to guess, it'd be about maybe like 18 gauge sheet metal thin, you know, but again, they're fiberglass. And so while them cracking might be an issue off-road, I do plan on also coating these again with Monster Liner, so that'll toughen them up a little bit, you know, maybe I'll be able to deflect a little bit more. But they pretty well made. And so, you know, they even have the tabs, like if I was running the rubber trim along the rocker panel, they have the tabs that kind of sink into that too. I'm going to cut these off, you know. I'm going to measure exactly where I'm going to cut them off, and I'll cut them off on both sides. This side doesn't need it, obviously, because it's the rear, but this side I'll cut it off, and I'll cut it off of the front fenders, and I'll also shape the front fender so it's more beneficial for off-roading, because the stock ones go down, you know, kind of come out on an angle like that, like a big L on the bottom. It's very blocky, and it blocks a little bit of the approach angle of the vehicle. So I'll probably cut those too. But right now, I'm gonna go just do a test fitment, especially the rears, because I don't know how far I extended the sheet metal, you know, so I have to see. It's not gonna be the exact same spot that I'm gonna have to drill them into the fender, because they're, you know, it's inexact. They do have the holes, I guess, where I'll make sure I'll align these to make sure that that's what it is. But these, unless these are just where they use this for the mold. I don't know. But it looks like the spots where the fender's attached to the truck. So I'll put these on right now just to line them up and see how they look. So fitment on the front is a little bit easier, but it is not ideal. So it's not fitting perfectly, but that's okay, because as you can see, the front of the fender flare goes in like that and attaches like so, but it is super bulky, and look at how much tire gets covered here. All right, so what I plan on doing is my approach angle is significantly reduced because of just the way that, you know, this covers the front of the tire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it right along here. All right, so I'll still have the fender coverage in the back, you know, and hopefully it'll reduce the amount of debris and stuff that's kicked up on the side of the car, but I'll still have a nice approach angle right here. So what I have to do now is I'll tape off, or even just with a marker, mark where I plan on cutting this thing. I'll follow this little line here along the fender, and then bring it across. So the plan for this build was $8,500 max, including the vehicle, including all work, including all parts. So far I'm below that, but I'm getting up there, and there's a lot more work to do, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I made some frivolous purchases that weren't really part of the initial plan. So for example, the G500 wheels that I got, I couldn't pass that deal up. They were super cheap. I couldn't pass them up, so that's why I bought those wheels. You know, I only paid $400 for them, but you know, then again, that's $400 that could have went into the overall project. I also just dropped them off right now to go get powder coated, so that's an additional expense, and that was not in the plan, right? So altogether, that's going to be with powder coating and mounting of the new tires. Again, then there's the new tires that I got. So those were not in the initial plan. So altogether, you're looking at right there. The miracle there is that I'm still right around, a little bit below budget, you know, for the entire project. So what I'm going to do to fix that is there's a lot of items on the vehicle that I don't plan on using. So for example, I have a stock tow hitch here. I don't plan on using this tow hitch. You know, the bumper that I plan to use has an integrated receiver in it. So I'm going to get rid of this and sell it. There's a lot of other items, you know, that are good that I just won't use on the vehicle. Like the old grill, I have an extra front axle, not from this project, but from a different project. You know, now that I have these new wheels, I can get rid of these wheels. You know, they're in great shape and they work, and you know, I'll include the 35-inch tires with them. So like things like that weren't really in the plans, but I'm doing because you know, it's going to make the truck cooler, and I can't pass up certain deals. You know, I have this car that I bought, and you know, the plan was to swap the motor. This is now for sale. You know, like, will I swap the motor? Maybe, you know, but as of right now, I have other things that I need to deal with that and that I want to keep below budget, just for the sake of, you know, a promise that I made to myself, a little financial promise. So Trying to keep this as cheap as possible, but still gonna end up being a fantastic vehicle. I had a friend just tint these for me, you know, 180 bucks. I got limo tint in the back and 30% in the front. And it makes the vehicle look so much better. You know, I didn't get it on video tinting, but that's because I had to just drop it off, and you know, he does it as a side job. So that looks great. You know, things like that. Like that wasn't really necessary, but it makes the truck look so much nicer, and it buys me some time from working on the interior, which I do plan on doing once I'm done with all this. So yeah, so like right now I'm gonna remove this. I already have a guy who wants to buy it, so you know, it's perfectly good, super sturdy. You know, like look at this, it's just overbuilt, you know. But I need to get rid of it because that's gonna lower my expenses a little bit, you know, allow me to buy, you know, other things that I need for the truck. So things like that. So right now I'm gonna remove this. You know, I gotta take some pictures of the fender pocket somebody else is looking at. I got the original OEM lights. I'm gonna get rid of. I got a bumper, the front bumper, stock front bumper for sale. You know, because I put this one on there. Was that winch necessary? Probably not. Does it look awesome? And will it be extremely useful? Probably. You know, I could have went with the stock bumper, but I like this bumper better. You know, everybody modifies their vehicles the way that they want to modify it, you know. I think this makes it stand out and look a little bit different than the standard. And you know, I don't want it to look like a 40-year-old car. I mean, it's cool if you're into vintage-looking cars. I prefer that style being vintage than this, to be honest with you. You know, this I like to be a little bit more modified. So that's the plan. I marked off where I'm going to be cutting for the raised air intake. So that's the exact hole that I need to make. And it's about 10.5-ish, a little bit over 10.5 inches around. So I'll find a tube, you know, and I'm debating how I'm gonna run the plumbing for that, or the ducting, I guess it would be, since it's with air. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to make this hole. You know, unfortunately, it's an elliptical hole, so you know I can't just buy a you know, regular hole saw and just you know put a hole through there. So what I'm going to have to do instead is I'm going to use this cutoff wheel on the. And we'll see what happens. You know, I'm gonna try to do it. I wish these came in smaller sizes. The only ones that I could find were 3-inch. So I'll be using the 3-inch cutoff wheel, and at least attempting to just use the very tip of it to penetrate the sheet metal and work my way around. And then if I need to, I can just use a grinder around the edges. So hopefully it comes out all right. Hopefully it doesn't start raining, and you know, I'll get the edges all prepped up and sealed up, and I can try to drill my my holes for my snorkel. So this is super slow going because I have a crappy little compressor. This is one of the reasons why I didn't spray the car when I did the monster liner, because I don't have a compressor to handle it. This is a little junky thing. It's not giving me enough enough juice. You know, there's not enough pressure to keep this air tool going. So it's like little bit by little bit. You know, I've got that. Basically, I just got through the monster liner into the metal. So now it's just gonna be piece by piece, just slowly but surely trying to, you know, penetrate and get all the way through that metal. That ended up taking a lot longer than I expected, but I have the hole all cut out now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some phosphoric acid, right? So I'm using fast etch, and I'm going to just make sure that I hit it all up with fast etch around the edges here. And then from there, I'm going to put a little primer around it and let that dry up, and then I'll put touch-up paint. So the touch-up paint, I just got touch-up Commando green Jeep color, which happens to be the exact same shade as the Monster Liner Sans Panties. Coincidence? I don't think so. So I'll have that on there, and then mount the Snorkel, and then drill the holes. You know, so maybe I'll actually, what I'll do is maybe I'll set it up now and drill the holes where I want it to align. So like, right, make sure it's not on any kind of angle. It looks pretty even with that little, there we go. So that looks freaking awesome. Now, you know, it's only going to be these 4 little bolts that are going to be holding it in place for now. But eventually, what I plan on doing is building a bracket for it. So, I got that 5-bar aluminum tread plate. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it to fit, and then out of aluminum, build a thick, you know, little bar thing, so this doesn't get knocked off on the trail if I hit a branch or something. So that's it's coming together. You know, that's once I get the new tires on there and everything, and the Meteor mud terrains, it's gonna look pretty tough. So the Snorkel is partially installed. It's installed for fitment. These aren't bolted in or anything like that. Looks pretty awesome. Obviously this is a 461 Snorkel that I'm using on my W460. So while the fenders do look similar, the 461 has a little recessed area in the actual fender itself, so it sits a little bit more flush, and you know, but once I tighten all the bolts and stuff, it'll be close enough. You know, this isn't a 461, it is a 460, so it's, you know, I could have went with another aftermarket unit, but they are more expensive than the actual Mercedes-Benz factory one. You know, this is 130 bucks. So looks good. Again, it's only these 4 bolts that are going to be securing it to the vehicle. So while that might be pretty tough, it's not going to be really sufficient if I hit like a branch or something like that. So what I plan on doing is, I got that 5-bar tread plate, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it to fit and have it here, and then I'm going to have a bracket made out of aluminum, you know, thick aluminum bar, to, you know, kind of like a model of the original bracket, that comes with these things. They come with a steel bracket, and that thing's like all together would be around 600 US. So for a piece of, you know, metal, I don't think I should spend that much money. So what I'll do is I'll use that diamond plate or 5-bar plate, and then have the bar coming out to here and securing it to the vehicle. And again, it doesn't have the ducting for the air in there. So I'll have to figure that out. Right now, you know, it's basically cosmetic. But once I get the ducting figured out, I have to find something that I can adapt you know, I could probably use the stock parts. So it's an elliptical shape, so it's not round. So I gotta figure out a way to do that, and then I'll plumb it through the fender up here, and then put a hole here, and that'll go into the engine compartment. And from there, I'll have a air filter box. I'm thinking about repurposing a Jeep TJ air filter box because it is waterproof and easy to access, and also the filters and stuff are cheap. So I'll do that and then have it go running into the actual engine. So it looks decent, you know. It definitely looks a lot tougher, you know. Such a simple little modification, and the truck looks so much tougher. So what I'm going to do now is address all the raw steel. It's probably going to start raining again, so I got to make sure I get it all sealed up, you know, and just bolt it together. And then I have that extra monster liner for when I do my fenders, and I'll just, again, put that inside there, you know, seal it all up. And then there's a screen that goes here, attaches, and runs out. Awesome.